See it played. Death Ride, Halfaya Pass, actions. Okay, we're here at Operation Battle Axe, Assault on Halfaya Pass. The action here is, here I'm playing with the 1st Battalion 6th Rajputana Rifles from the 11th Indian Infantry Brigade. I hope that's right. I think that's right. 1/6 Rajputana Rifles from the 11th Indian Infantry Brigade. That's all of these units here. For the historical scenario, they start here. And so I've actually gone through a few turns to move them up to where they are now. The action is 1/6 Rajputana Rifles here is attacking the German battle position 1, which is right here, with some couple of mines and wire. Okay, so this is what we're playing here. Yeah, so I'm picking up the recording now because I noticed that I just came in range of this one here, the German. Well, let's figure out exactly what this is supposed to be. There, it has the asterisk between the primary combat factor of 2 and the defense factor of 8. But let's see. Okay, quick scan of the unit key that comes with the game. I didn't see this, but no, it's not a problem for me. The designer of this series is pretty good with his use of NATO symbols. That tells me this is a mixture of heavy weapons and mortars. As you can see, the primary weapons range there is 15 hexes, the mortars, and the secondary range of 5 heavy weapons. All right, but important is that it is a asterisk unit. As a matter of fact, one more check. So for Halfaya Pass, we have the target weapon target diagram, which is similar, very similar, if not identical, to the Hafid Ridge, except that in this game, in Halfaya Pass, we should have hard targets somewhere in the game, where we didn't have hard targets in Hafid Ridge. There they are, heavy weapons, asterisked units there. So that's the line I'll be using for that unit there. And there's an example. But that's not the mixture of heavy weapons and mortars that we were just looking at. Okay. All right, so in any case, I stopped the British advance there when I realized I had come into range of the first German unit. Okay, so in the German defense over here, we'll take a closer look. All right, so on the German right, we have a anti-tank platoon with a dismounted infantry platoon there. It's the mounted side, but they're obviously dismounted for the defense here. So anti-tank platoon with a dismounted infantry platoon. In the center, we have a dismounted infantry platoon, another anti-tank platoon, the heavy weapons platoon, and they are all dug in. That's the only position that's dug in the center there. And on the German left, we have again an infantry platoon with an anti-tank platoon. And then, of course, wire on the seaside, mines on the road side of their front. The German right is anchored on this escarpment Okay. While we're looking at orders of battle, might as well go over the Rajputana rifles here. We have some dismounted infantry companies in the front here, rifle companies. They are dismounted. They do not have a mounted side. So they're walking 6 hexes per turn. They pay 2 movement points per desert or clear terrain. Trailing, we have engineers, dismounted engineers. They also do not have a mounted side, so dismounted engineers. Moving a little slower than the infantry at 5. And here we have the battalion headquarters. Yes, battalion headquarters. We have mounted anti-tank platoon. Mounted anti-tank platoon, mounted on wheeled vehicles. And here we have a truck unit carrying the mortar unit here. Range of 17. Range of 17. It's a plus weapon. So it's a plus weapon. So that tells me, well, I'll see if that's on the unit key. That should be not on the key as well. Okay, well, it's got to be 100 millimeters or greater to be consistent with the system here. Okay, so the mortars are loaded on the vehicles, which actually I guess they, with a range of 17, they could probably dismount soon. I'll have to remember that. They don't need to go much further. Might as well not even get in range of the... Ooh, they're already in range of the German support platoon. Okay, well, we'll play that out. Or the mortars will actually go back. Who has a greater range? Yep, the British mortars have a range of 17. The German support platoon there, heavy weapons platoon, has a range of 15. So the British mortars could actually get out of range. And that is the Rajputana rifles order of battle there. So to the extent that I can remember, the point of putting this action together is to practice the fundamentals again, especially the operations phase, to get practice with the 5 kinds of maneuver. Well, they're 5 in Kursk. Are they 5 in Halfaya Pass? 5, yeah. So get more experience with the fundamentals of maneuver, the 5 forms of movement, the opportunity fire, etc. And to help that, I am going to go ahead and use the information markers from Death Ride Kursk Totenkopf. So I'm going to see how this works out because, well, yeah, I still want to see how I think it's supposed to work. Now, up front, this is what I'm looking at. Unlike what I've been doing before. Well, I don't know what I think now. This is what I'm going to be experimenting with, though. If this, for example, if this infantry company here, if this British infantry actually, why am I saying British? Well, British as side, okay. This British Army unit, if it fires, let's say it fires its, well, actually it doesn't matter. It may fire its secondary weapon system, it may fire its primary weapon system, or it may fire both and be fire complete. I think, it doesn't matter which one, let's just say they fire their primary weapon, it goes on like that. I'm experimenting with the idea that later on in the operations phase, it can move up to half its movement allowance. So it could move up to 3 movement points. And at the same time, which by the way, I guess, okay, so let's say we do that. I'm just experimenting. Yeah, if I thought this was spelled out as clear as it needs to be in the rules, that would be one thing. But anyways, let's say it fires a primary movement. Later, i.e., other units are doing things. I can come back. I think I can come back. I'm going to explain why I think this. He's fired his primary weapon. He moves, let's say 2, because he has 3. He has half of his movement allowance. He moves 2. He can't move anymore, let's say. I guess this could be exchanged for moved full, right? Well, I just realized that that's kind of misleading either, because he actually didn't move full. But in any case, you might... Yeah. Huh. Well, let's experiment with it being effectively the same. The same as done. Okay. Likewise, he could move at one point in the operations phase. He can move up to half its movement allowance, 3, so it expends 2. It's marked with moved half. Later on in the operations phase, I'm assuming I can come back, and then I can fire with the -2 penalty, and then it's whatever, let's say fired complete if it fires both. Both. Fire complete. Huh. Which means that it's still misleading because, well, I mean, if I want everything completely marked, of course, that's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, put them together? Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, anyways, that's not the point. The marking is, I'm going to be experimenting with the marking, but it's not really. What is key here is that, okay, the rules do not seem to specify that I cannot come back and do things with the units later in the operations phase. Not the only. There's one hard and fast stipulation. When a unit starts moving, it has to complete its movement before another unit can begin moving. But that's fine, because I'm talking about moving half, being marked as moved half. It's not going to move again. It's going to fire later. So unless... So the next question is, well, is fire during the operations phase effectively considered movement? And I don't see any evidence of that. I do not see evidence of that. So, and plus there's this, what right now seems to be a cryptic sentence here that I actually never noticed before. It's under the operations phase description of the detailed sequence of play. It's at the end of the paragraph under operations phase as it explains how players can work on or remove some obstacles, then fire at some units, then move some units, then construct obstacles, etc. Which, by the way, again, imprecise language, I don't know, but it just says fire some units, move some units. It doesn't say fire some units and move other units. And it just says some units. So does that mean that I can move at one point and at another point in the operations phase shoot, or vice versa? By the way, nowhere in the rules do I see where a unit is done in a hard and fast way except for that stipulation about, as a matter of fact, I'll give you the exact language, not that it's 100% helpful, but in all types of movement, a unit or stack of units must complete its movement before any other unit or units may move. Again, when I read that sentence, I'm interpreting move as literally move, not the fire that a unit may do with its movement. Okay. I think I've covered everything that I'm looking for and how this is going to actually play out. All right, so the Germans are going to open fire. Actually, this is probably important to mention. This is very important. I don't think I've ever talked about this before. I'm going to double check this off camera, but I don't think that the heavy weapons unit here can fire past the infantry company here to the headquarters stack, or the stack with the headquarters. Now, how is it presented in this set of rules? I am using the actual Halfaya Pass rules. Friendly units do not, okay, that's friendly units. Enemy truck and half-track units do not block line of sight. That's funny. That's funny. That is funny. Did they forget to say? Did they forget to say that enemy units block line of sight, except enemy truck and half-track units do not block line of sight? How on earth could they have forgotten to say that? I'll check another edition of the rules. Yeah, I don't know if it's play fatigue on my part or what, but I sure as heck don't see it written here. Enemy units normally block line of sight. No, it's not written here. Enemy units normally block line of sight except for trucks and half-tracks. All right, so I don't think that they can fire past this infantry company to the headquarters unit in the back, or headquarters stack. All right, so they'll actually try to take out the unit that's between them and the headquarters stack. All right, I'm just going to get going and we'll see. We'll see if this is even playable at this point. Okay, well, that was a long shot. Okay, just to review, the German heavy weapons platoon only has a primary factor of 2. So the British Army company here has a defense factor of 24. This is way off the bottom column of the fire table, but it does say attacks at lower than 1 to 4, which is lower than the 0.25 column, are allowed at the 0.25 column or 1 to 4 column, which means that there's only on a roll of 10 are you causing an S1. In this case, there are no modifiers, same elevation, nothing else special. So here, I think I would, because it's the German player's operation phase, I would put fired primary. Yeah. Okay, I guess. Basically what this tells me is, the British Army, I'm just going to move them up a whole nother turn. Then they'll be within range of pretty much all the German units, and we'll see what happens then. Now, I gotta say, it's an interesting idea of the ratios. All right, what I'm getting at here is, I'll take that off. What I'm getting at is, I'm thinking more and more about the ratio combat system here, which by itself does not bother me. I don't think I've ever registered any complaint about it. But now when you have platoons against companies, and I'm seeing more of this in the system. So a platoon of mortars and machine guns, but the machine guns aren't reaching the target. So we're just talking about a platoon's worth of mortars firing at almost 3 kilometers away. It's a 2-hour turn. So really time is not a factor at all. The company has a defense factor of 24. So if I compare that to a engineer platoon, the engineer platoon, which by the way, the Germans rolled a 4. They didn't get that 10, but, oh, okay. Well, there's the 10, I guess. All right. Okay. Well, let's try a 6. Let's try a 6. Actually, I should point out that the heavy weapons platoon at primary range with the primary weapon against a soft target is 1.5. So it's actually 3. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. So against the company, there's a 10% chance of just causing suppression 1. Where are the suppression 1 markers? Just causing suppression 1. Whereas the same against a platoon of engineers is, with the defense of 8, and it jumps up to the 0.33 column, which doubles the chance of suppression. Doubles the chance of suppression, and basically there's a 10% chance of a suppression 2 and a 10% chance of a suppression 1. So is it easier? Is it easier with mortars at almost 3 kilometers to suppress a platoon? Is it significantly easier to suppress a platoon than a company? I think there are 2 ways to look at it. One, the percentage of suppression, the chance of suppression is effectively the same. Or, again, if you say, I guess if you go by percentage of the target, okay, so we're talking, let's say, 20% chance of suppressing a 40-man engineer platoon versus a 10% chance of suppressing a 200-strong infantry company. Are we saying that because there's are we saying there's a 20% chance of making, let's say, a quarter of the engineer? Well, let's just make it easy and say a half. So 20 of the 40 soldiers in the engineer platoon hit the dirt. I should say there's a 20% chance of that happening. Versus, okay, I'm saying if the mortar's coming in, there's a chance that 20 of the engineers will hit the ground. And there's the same chance, well, it's not the same chance, but you have 20 engineers hit the ground versus 20 of the infantry hit the ground. 20 engineers work out to be 50% of the platoon. 20 infantry soldiers is only 10% of the company. Yeah. So are we saying that by ratio, it's more effective? I don't know. Is that the justification? I'll just go with this, but I just my default idea is suppression is kind of the chance of causing suppression is kind of the same. Now, maybe the designer is talking about a 2-hour time. I don't normally think in terms of, direct fire and indirect fire at the level where you're including individual platoons with 2-hour turns. That is different. I mean, if I'm thinking 5-minute turns or 10-minute turns or 15-minute turns, maybe the chance of suppression is more equal. I don't know. At the very least, I'm curious what the justification is for it being, again, what is it? It's significantly harder to suppress the company than the platoon. We're just talking about suppression. Well, okay, unless these represent more than just what I'm thinking of as suppression. That's another possibility. But these are just possibilities. Okay, maybe it's time. Maybe it's what's being covered with suppression here. Maybe it's the proportional effect. I don't know, but I've been hitting this idea a few times over, so thought I would commit it to video. All right, the British Army units are going to advance now, and then we should get some more fighting, and then we can get some opportunity fire. Now the British don't have any opportunity for overwatch here, so that will not be a factor, but we can still use fire and movement and fire on the British Army side. Okay, looking at the infantry on both sides, the British Army infantry companies and the German Army infantry platoons, they both have a primary weapons range or long range of four hexes. So, so basically for the infantry, they're going to have to get a whole nother full move up before they start coming into contact. So like this company goes 2, 4, 6, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in range of the Germans. Of course, the German infantry will be in range to the British Army units. But that raises the question, when I move my first British Army unit like that, because it's 2-hour turns, I guess actually the German heavy weapons platoon there gets to conduct opportunity fire against it. And then if it's just another German combat unit, when I go to move the next infantry unit, and the next infantry unit does the German, again, heavy weapons platoon get to fire again and again. I do think that that's the case. And actually here we're going to have the question that 2, 4, 6. Yep. Right here's the question I have again. And I'm going to try it. Okay, so let's say I'll do the combat off camera, but first British Army unit moves 2 movement points. The German weapons platoon, heavy weapons platoon, fires op fire. Fires op fire primary weapon. If the British survive and they move now 4 movement points, now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they're within range, short range of the British heavy weapons platoon, does that unit now get to fire its secondary weapons at that same moving unit and is then flipped to op fire complete? But we know that the op fire complete is only for that moving unit stack. All right, that's how I'm going to play it. But you see that I divided it up. What's hard and fast is a unit well, as a matter of fact, I'll give you the wording, but there's the little bit that's still unclear is, can you deliver primary op fire and secondary op fire? Yes, it has to be at the same unit stack, but can you do that fire in different hexes during the same movement? Yeah, so the wording I'm kind of keying in on now is under the special fire rules. It's unfortunately, this idea is repeated a few times in the rules, which I'm not sure helps, but units may use opportunity fire only once per unit. Per unit means I'm thinking that German heavy weapons platoon. Once per unit, per weapon type, secondary and primary may each fire separately if desired. Again, it's those ambiguous three words there, separately if desired, per enemy unit stack, which is really per moving enemy unit stack. Okay, all fine except saying separately if desired means what? Does that just mean separately? This is what I'm getting at. If we have two units moving in a stack like that, are they saying that the heavy weapons platoon can fire its primary weapon at the company and not at the same time, but and fire its secondary weapon against the engineer platoon? Because that would be at the same hex during the same interruption. Or combine primary and secondary against the platoon, or primary and secondary against the company. Is that what they mean, or do they mean here fire primary, here fire secondary, and then done, and then if there wasn't anybody else firing, presumably they move on. Okay. All I can say is, oops, I don't even know where I guess he started there. Again, I'm going to try this, see how it works. Right now I can't do anything more than that. So that unit is going to be able to fire lots of opportunity fire as the front infantry line advances one more full move. Okay, completely moot point, since the German mortars as opportunity fire can't even cause damage to the advancing infantry because of the -3 for opportunity fire. So they move 2 more movement points for a total of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they're within primary and secondary range. Now I assume I can put them together. So it's 2. Oh, it's also 2 at short range, 6 at short range. Okay, and then I add those together. I should at least have some possibility, even with the -3 for opportunity fire, of getting something on the advancing infantry there. This is just so interesting. I got a comment. Not that I have any problem with this at all. It's probably good, but just interesting mechanics-wise. Even with the German support platoon, heavy weapons platoon, firing together, primary and secondary, at short range, the British Army company still is only looking at a 0.33 column attack, which -3 for opportunity fire can't even get a result. So am I missing something? No, I'm not. No elevation difference. Yeah, no obstacles yet. -3 defensive fire means that they can't even get a result. I don't know. It's interesting. When do they... I mean, I'm curious. So now they're within short range. So they can't, for opportunity fire, they can't get a result there. They can't get a result there. They can't get a result there. Can't get a result there. So basically, well, I mean, not counting the wire, but finally when they're adjacent, you finally get +2 for adjacent. Somewhat, not entirely, but somewhat counteracting the opportunity fire -3. Still a -1, which is still only a 10. A 10% chance of a suppression 1? Okay. All I'll say here is that I guess, well, you can't even mass your fire. You can't even mass your fire on opportunity fire because it's only 1 hex at a time. It's only 1 unit stack from 1 hex at a time. You can't mass on an opportunity fire. So basically, despite all the rules, really, these British companies are really just moving up, and then they have to survive German fire during the Germans' operations phase. That seems weird, frankly. I don't even know what to say. Now they go one more. That's all their movement. I'll even mark them moved full. Okay, I can't imagine. Yeah, I mean, the infantry platoon of 2 is in the same... well, what? No. Opportunity fire they can't get a result either. And I would think that the anti-tank platoon would have an even harder time. Well, what do you know? Doesn't even make a difference. So together, 4. Cannot get a result. So despite all the mechanics, despite primary, secondary weapons, despite short and long range, really, again, the British are just moving with impunity, basically. Because I do not see how they can do anything opportunity fire-wise, which again is strange. Well,